Hi everyone, it's Ben from BS Drum Academy here, and today I'm tuning my bass drum. Now my bass drum is a 24-inch bass drum. Some of you might have an 18 or 20 or 22 or 24, and you can even get bigger bass drums than that if you really want to. And the size of the bass drum, it doesn't matter so much, but what does matter is the sound that you are looking for. Some bass drums and some songs and genres of music require a nice big boomy sound of a bass drum, and then some bass drums really require like a nice higher pitched, tight sounding bass drum. And it's kind of really personal preference. Tuning the bass drum though is a lot easier than in comparison to tuning a snare drum or the toms. So this drum is by far the easiest to tune. And before I get going, I just want to say this is how I tune mine. There's probably lots of different ways that other musicians do it. I found this technique works really well for me, and it's very easy to tune it. I also want you to just keep in mind that a lot of the frequency sounds that bass drums make is almost really hard to hear by the ear. So if you have like one lug or one little bolt here a little too tight and another one a little looser, you might not hear really too much of a difference in tuning, and it's not going to make like a whoa, 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 whoa sound, as most bass drums don't really ring that much, and that's not not a kind of sound that we want from a bass drum. We don't want it to ring for a long time like maybe we want for a big floor tom or a tom drum. We usually want a short, punchy, fast hit, and then it dies after that. So inside my bass drum, I have like a blanket, I have some EQ pads in there, and maybe some towels, and that's just to really minimize a lot of the dampening sounds and to eliminate some of that sound of being out of tune. But the drum is not itself out of tune, but in case a lot of them are hard to hear from the ear, remember? So that's why it's a little bit easier to do. So I'm going to show you my way, and probably some people on the internet are going to be like, oh, you shouldn't have done this, Ben, you shouldn't have done that, whatever. I know that this really, really works, and I want to share that with you. So at the end of the day, the kick drum's gotta sound good. That is the heartbeat and the soul of all types of drum sounds that you need. You need your kick drum and especially your snare, those two things, to be really, really tuned well and sounding good. So I'm gonna show you how I do mine. Now, my bass drum here is here, and you'll see I have the octopus side up. This is the resonant head, the side of the drum that I do not hit. And on the bottom side here, I have the batter head. And I've already gone ahead and I've loosened all of these lugs right here. I've already loosened them, ready to go, and I'm gonna tune it right from fresh. Now I have a couple of these drum heads that I switch out for different bands that I play with their logo on it and stuff, but this is the BS Drum logo, so I've just put this on, and it's all fresh and ready to go. You're gonna notice that this drum has a hole in it, and this is a mic port, which is where I would put a microphone inside of the bass drum, and that's because I mic my drums that way, and it's a quite easy process, and it's nice and also great to have an accessible port so that I can put towels or dampening in there and adjust things in there if I need without taking the whole front of the drum off. Completely optional. I know some drummers who don't have a hole in it and they just mic on the outside, but again, it's a different sound that you're aiming for. Now, when you're tuning your bass drum, tune your resonant side first. Tune this side, the resonant side, the side you don't hit first. Why? Is because this side is probably not going to change in pitch as you play. This side is not the side that you would adjust for different sounds. If you want to change the sound of your bass drum, let's say you want to have your bass drum sound, instead of a high pitch, you want to tune it down to make it a lower pitch, boomy or woofy kind of sound. You're not going to actually change the tuning on this resonant head. You would actually change the tuning on the batter head. When I'm tuning fresh, I tune the resonant head first, because once I tune it, I leave it and I don't have to touch it at all and make adjustments that way, okay? Tuning both sides of the drums are exactly identical, and this type of drum is the only type of drum that it is okay to put your hand in and press into the middle of the drum. And that is called seating the drum head. I would not recommend that for snare drums or tom drums, as it can stretch the drum head and damage it. However, bass drum heads are a lot stronger and they can withstand a lot more force and vibration. So it is okay to do it here. And actually, in fact, I recommend it because it helps us get the lowest tuning or lowest tone possible. Our first thing we're gonna do is we are going to finger tighten all of these lugs. Now, just as a reminder, if you've watched my other tuning videos, make sure that we're always tightening in opposite directions. So we're not tuning starting at 1 and going in a circle like this. We instead are going to tune opposite sides, and then we're gonna do 2 opposite sides, and then do another opposite side, and so on. Okay, so I would usually have a number chart. I would have, maybe this is number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And so this drum has 10 lugs, so we have 10 places to tighten. So we're gonna use our fingers, and let's get started. So we're gonna tighten as best as we possibly can, and we're gonna just use our finger strength to do the best that we can. There we are. Another one. I think that's all of them. Good. Now I've done it all once. Now I'm gonna go again and just double check and make sure I've tightened everything as much as I possibly can. Again, going in that same opposite order. And the reason we do that, making sure we have even tension as best as we possibly can. And sometimes, especially when you got tight, it's okay to go in a circle, but again, as long as you're tightening both at the same time. Okay, so now I've gotten my even tightening, my fingers, I can't tighten any more of this. Now it's my next step. And now this may seem a little scary to watch, but it's not actually that bad. You can be a little rough with it and it'll be okay. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take the heel of your hand, the palm of your hand, and place it in the center of the drum. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna press down about 1 inch to 2 inches. And you're gonna notice that the drum is gonna fight back just a little bit. So I'm gonna press down here until you're gonna notice that you can see there might be some wrinkles here. It's a little harder to see on a clear head, but you're gonna notice that there's some wrinkles that appear on the edge of this drum. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a drum key, and I'm gonna use one hand, I'm gonna press in the center of the drum, and the other hand, I'm gonna use the drum key for. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with a half key turn. So I'm gonna take the key and I'm gonna turn it probably a half a turn. And if I'm watching these wrinkles, if I notice that the wrinkles start to move, I'm gonna only stay to about a quarter turn past that point. Okay, so a quarter turn is like 12 o'clock until 3 o'clock. That's kind of how far I'm gonna go past the point of where the wrinkles start to move. Okay, but first of all, I might want to move like half a turn and see if anything moves. And right now, I'm noticing my first turn, I'm noticing that there is a little bit of turn. So, and that was only about after a quarter of a turn. So I'm already at my moment here. So I'm gonna actually just turn a quarter of a turn. I'm gonna go to the other side, and I'm gonna turn to the point where I see wrinkles start to move. Right about there, and turn a quarter of a point. Now I'm gonna go to the other side. Yeah, instantly started to move there. Here it is, quarter of a turn. Very good. And it's kind of hard to see on this color of drum skin, but the lights might make it helpful. There it is, quarter of a turn. Good. Okay, now I'm gonna go over here. Quarter of a turn. Quarter of a turn. Very good. And I think I have done these ones. I've done these ones. I think that is all of them. Oh no, I got 2 more. Quarter of a turn. Quarter of a turn. Okay. So now I've turned the bass drum about a quarter of a turn at each of the lugs. And now I'm gonna have a quick check to see how it's looking right now. So I've done a quarter turn at each of them. after pressing into the drum skin, and I've been watching for the wrinkles to move. So again, once I see the wrinkles start to move, I turned a 1/4 inch past. And you notice I was kind of a bit loosey-goosey with how much I turned. I was kind of trying to eye the best as I possibly could. And just do your best that you possibly can. That is totally fine. Now we're gonna take a drumstick and we're gonna lightly tap around the edges to see if we can hear some tones and see if we have any mismatches. So we are gonna hit on opposite sides of the drum to see if we have any opposite matches that we have. Okay, so let's have a quick couple taps. I got some buzzing here. Wonder what the buzzing is. Sometimes you might hit things and you hear a buzz. Now it's gone all of a sudden. But the buzzing might indicate that one of these lugs are loose. And it's perfectly normal for a lug to loosen itself, especially because we're doing a low tuning for a drum. Let's keep trying. All right, so I can tell that this one down here is a little low in comparison. So I'm gonna give it a little boost, and I'm also gonna give its neighbors a little boost as well. It's always good, especially in a bass drum, to give its neighbors just a little boost. So this one here is now a little too high, so I'm gonna bring that one down. This neighbor, so it looks like I turned the neighbors a bit too high, and that's normal to make mistakes. You're kind of learning, and what I learned over the years is just to train my ear to listen for sounds. So now we're pretty close in those three. Let's keep trying the others. Now the hard one, when I have a hole in the bass drum, it's kind of hard and awkward to hit, so I recommend to hit just on the inside of the hole, because over here, it's kind of delicate over here, and you're not gonna be able to get much tone. So I hit on the other side of the hole. So I got a low one here. A little higher, just a turn. That's better. Okay, so I've generally kind of tuned it pretty close to where I usually like it. Now our last check is, what I like to do is, I like to have a little press on the center of the drum and see how much give it has. Generally speaking, I'm looking to see if I can push the drum skin in about a 1/4, or not a 1/4, like a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. And that's about the size of your thumbnail. So if I can push the drum in about that distance, then I'm doing okay. And so that drum looks okay. So you see how simple that was. I finger tightened, and then I pressed on the drum and just turned the keys just about a 1/4 turn to 1/2 turn to see when the wrinkles move. And then once I saw the wrinkles move, I turned it about a 1/4 turn past that point. And from there, we just check the lugs to make sure everything's close to even, and a quick little press check. All right, so it looks pretty good to me. Sounds pretty good. I always give one more quick little check on each of the lugs to make sure that sometimes one is super loose and the others are not, and they rattle a little bit. And if they find that happen, it means there's an uneven tuning somewhere in the drum. So it's best to restart and make sure everything is nice and even. Okay, so the resin head is done. Now the adjustable part, and the part we change for preference, is the batter head. So let's turn this one over. And here we are. Now this drum head is a special drum head. You'll see it has some dampening foam in here that I can remove and place in here as we go as well. Now for this part, I'm gonna remove the dampening system just for now. so that the drum head will vibrate a little bit more for me so I can hear it a little bit better. You'll notice I have a little patch here as well in the middle, and that just protects the drum head a little bit from the punching of the pedals, and that's completely normal as well. Now, same process as before. I've already gone ahead and loosened all of these before I started recording, and now our first task is same as it was before. We're going to finger tighten the batter head. We're gonna finger tighten as much as we need to. All right, so let's go ahead. So remember, I'm doing opposite sides. And now I have to kind of remember as I'm doing this, okay, I did this, the north, left, right. So now I'm gonna do the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Maybe I'll do a 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock, and 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and then I'll maybe do 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock, somewhere here. All right, so I've done it all once. Now let's try it again. As best as I possibly can. It's okay to go in circle as long as you're going on both sides, but I always try and make sure I stay opposite sides. So it looks like I've quickly done it already. I've finger tightened everything I can. Now, if you remember our second step from the last one, now we place our hand on the inside of it here. And as I press, you're gonna start to see these little ripples here around the drum, and that's how we are going to press in. So we're gonna take our drum key, I'm gonna press in about in the center here, and I'm gonna start by looking for the wrinkles. So I'm going to find the point where they turn, and I'm gonna turn about a quarter inch past, a quarter turn past that part. So let's go the other side, keeping even pressure. There's the part that it starts to turn, quarter past. All right, let's look at the spot. Wrinkles start to move, quarter past. Now you'll notice I'm like loosening a little bit first, and that's normal because I'm trying to find the spot that it tightens. So if I start tightening and the wrinkles disappear, it's too tight. I gotta find the spot the wrinkles start to move. There they are, right there. Okay, and quarter turn. All right, let's go 2 o'clock. Wrinkles, there they are, and quarter turn. Okay, let's go to 8 o'clock. Sometimes you gotta get really nice and close. Wrinkles. Something a little more, there they are, and quarter turn. Very good. All right, 10 o'clock. There are the wrinkles, here they are. A little past it, there they go, and quarter turn. And 4 o'clock. There's the wrinkles, and quarter turn. Very good. And now I've got to do 1 o'clock, quarter turn, and quarter turn. And quarter turn. Okay, so I've gone around once already. And I've just tried generally as close as I can to get a quarter turn past the point where the wrinkles start to move. Now, remember our third step? Our third step is to take that drumstick, and now we're gonna tap around to see what we have for tunings of our individual lugs. So we're listening for differences. We're listening for some that are really high and some that are really low. And we wanna try and bring the low ones down and bring the low ones up so that we can match them. So let's see if we can listen with our ear. Now I notice that these ones are a little low, so I'm gonna bring these slightly higher. All right, I'm noticing a little low here. Maybe a little high on the 10 o'clock. And I always just do both sides. Okay, so I think that's pretty close. Now remember, the frequencies that a bass drum makes is usually inaudible to ear. It's quite low, and it's a rumble sound that we can't usually is audible to the ear. So we're missing a few, but we can hear a lot of the starting the mids, the hollowness sounds that's starting to come through the drum. Now our last check is now I've checked the lugs. Now I'm going to check the pressure to see if it's what I want. Remember, I'm aiming for that about the thumbnail here. And now this part of both sides of the drum is the very personalized part. If you want a bass drum that has quite a high tuning and a high, bright, punchy sound, you don't want 1/2 inch. Maybe you want 1/4 inch or half the size of your bass drum. So you want an even tighter press on your bass drum. If you want a low woofy sound and a bit more of a boom sound, then we want a lower tuning on this batter side. Remember, we do not touch the resonance side, the side with the logo. We don't touch that side. We are only adjusting if we want to customize the sound of our bass drum. Are only going to adjust the middle one here. Because even think about it, the tighter that it is, it's going to also create a bit of a rebound with the pedal. When the pedal hits it, it's going to bounce back as well. So the punchy sound is more for a bit more faster playing, where the lower sound is going to be a little bit more singular bass pedal, like boom, boom, boom. So if you're not using double pedal, I would recommend a lower sound. But if you are using double kick pedal and want to play faster songs, then we want probably a tighter bass drum. Now for me, this is actually a little bit loose for me. So I'm going to actually tighten this up. So I notice I'm pressing in, but I think this is a little loose for me. So I'm going to tighten this up, and I am a double bass drum player, and I'm learning to. So I'm going to be tightening all of this. Now I'm not just tightening like one thing. I'm going in the opposite sides, and I'm going to tighten all the exact same amount. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to turn it maybe like an 1/8 of a turn, okay? Like a small turn, okay? So small turn, there we are, right? Small turn. Good, I'm going to go to 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock, let's go 2 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. So I've tightened all of them now, and I'm gonna check it again. Oh yeah, it's a lot better now. Now it's not so loose. Now you can hear the sound of the drum is quite a bit higher. I highly recommend that you experiment a little bit with the sounds of the bass drum and how boomy you can get it to sound in low frequencies and low tuning, and also higher tuning as well. Now after I've done, I'm gonna just place, of course, all my dampening and pieces back into the appropriate places. And this part's always a little bit tricky. This is an Evans head as well, by the way. It's called an EMAD head with built-in dampening. And now, the best part, we're gonna hook it up and see what it sounds like. Okay, yeah, I really like the sound of my bass drum. It's a good combination between punchy and tight and a little bit of boom in there. Now that's my personalized sound. I really like it. If you don't like the sound of your bass drum as you're tuning it, remember that it's customizable. You can customize the tuning and the tightness of your batter head, the side that you hit on the drum. And if you're still not too happy with it, I have a couple things that I could suggest to you. Number one thing is to provide some dampening inside the bass drum. I've seen drummers put a pillow inside their bass drum, or blankets or towel, and personally I use a blanket, a little something that's fluffy, and I also have some EQ pads that rest against the batter heads and the resonant head, and so that it hits, the pillow just comes off and places in. A great product by Evans that I really love and I enjoy. But I find, especially when I'm miking drums for recording, I need a little bit more dampening. So I don't have like a ringing bass drum that's being recorded. It's great for maybe live shows, but not necessarily for a recording setup. So I suggest maybe providing and trying, experimenting a little bit with some dampening for your bass drum, and that can make a huge difference in that as well. Another thing to try as well is if you're still having a hard time with tuning, you could also take your bass drum to your local music shop and have them tune it for you and with you. So you can learn a little bit about your drum, but also see how they tune the bass drum as well. And maybe you could, more heads trying it is better than one. But my style of tuning is a way that emphasizes a good low end sound and an even tension on all of the lugs, and provides it a little customizable. So lots of great options there. And sometimes when drums are being lugged around and carried around, there is some parts where sometimes the drum bearings can break, or the wood can shift, or the hoops can get a little damaged or chipped, and the lugs can get a little bent. So take care of your drums, especially the bass drum, because it's big and it usually gets carried in the car and it gets knocked around a little bit. So take good care of it and the drum will always sound that good. But that's it for me. If you have any questions about tuning drums, or you want to watch some free resources and want to learn anything about drums, check out my website at www.bhdrumacademy.com, and you can contact me directly for questions if you need some help. Talk to you soon, everybody. Take care.